Welcome to A Kind Life. Today I'm really grateful to have Michelle here. She is the co-founder of Happily Heifer After up on the Sunshine Coast. How are you going, Michelle?
Yeah, really good. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Thanks for meeting me today. I can imagine how busy you are, so really appreciate your time.
Oh, that's all good. No worries.
So I guess tell us a little bit about yourself. I'm imagining if I was to say to you what gets you up in the morning, you would probably say your animals.
Yeah, that's it. The roosters first thing. Little bit about me. So I'm actually originally from Canada. You can't tell from my accent, but moved out to Australia when I was 19. Grew up loving animals, absolutely loved animals, always wanted to work with animals, but didn't really know what that meant. I actually studied to be a vet nurse, worked as a vet nurse for a bit, didn't really love the industry, and found my passion in 2019 when we started the sanctuary. So yeah, the sanctuary's been running for about 3 years and 2 weeks today. So it's been a wild ride.
I bet it has. I'm thinking you probably never imagined yourself running a sanctuary.
No, never, ever, ever. If you would have told me like 4 years ago that I'd be here, I'd be like, that sounds very silly.
And I think I had also read as well that at some point in your past, you'd been a scuba diver instructor.
Yes, I worked as a scuba diving instructor for about 7 years. That was my main, I guess, career before sanctuary life. Did that, traveled all around Australia and worked all around Australia. It was super fun. Loved it.
Amazing. Was that a love of animals as well, like a love of marine life, or what got you into that?
Yeah, love of marine life, love of anything unusual and different, love of the ocean and the environment, particularly the marine environment, and how unknown it is to us and how important it is to us for long-term health of the planet.
Yeah. And so tell us, how did you start your sanctuary all three years and 2 weeks ago, as you said?
So it kind of evolved. I don't really know how you can evolve into doing this life, but it kind of did. So originally, like I said previously, I was working as a vet nurse down in Sydney. And my previous partner got a job opportunity to come up to the Sunshine Coast. And so why not? Sunshine Coast is an amazing place to live. So we hopped up in our car and moved on up here. And I didn't really know anyone. So I was vegan myself and I wanted to meet people. And I just joined like Facebook groups, all that kind of stuff to meet like-minded people. And I met a really close friend of mine who used to work at a sanctuary and actually started a rescue program herself and kind of helped her with that. She's no longer running that. But yeah, kind of helped her along that way, and then realized that there was just this huge gap up here, at least for what we do, and there was just so many animals needing help. So decided to start with just bobby calves from the dairy industry. So we created relationships with local dairies and would take in 2 to 4 calves at a time at a couple days old, rear them till they were like 10 to 12 weeks, and then rehome them as loving pets and try and educate people about what they went through and what they would have gone through if we hadn't rescued them throughout that process. And then that 2 to 4 calves turned into 20 calves when I went to the dairy one day and there was 20 sitting there. I was told that, oh, don't worry, the others will just bring around the back. Obviously wasn't an option. So yeah, just kind of grew from there. We started doing more calves, and then we were put on the news. It was on ABC News and Channel 9 News. And then we just started getting contacted from like we had a goat dairy farm contact us about goat kids. We had egg producers contacting us. So it kind of just spiraled out of control from there, but in the best possible way.
Yeah. And so how many animals are you up to currently that you've got living at the sanctuary?
So living at the sanctuary, we've got just over 70. We have rescued just under 500.
Wow. So yeah, that's almost like over 150 a year.
Yeah, it's amazing. It is. It's incredible. We went pretty hard the first 2 years, and then the last 12 months, we've kind of slowed down a little bit. Like, we're still going crazy, but yeah, just taking a bit of a breather and focusing more on the sustainability and the long-term goal of the sanctuary. Yeah.
And that's what I was going to ask you. I'm assuming it can be difficult, to part with these animals after you've raised them, but also trying to make sure that they do go into loving homes. Like, do you sort of specify certain things around, them going into vegan families, or how does that kind of work for you?
So we don't specify that they have to go into vegan families. If they do go into vegan families, that's just a bonus. We do have quite a few animals that we've rehomed into vegan families. We also have quite a few animals that we've rehomed into families who then went vegan by adopting those animals, which are probably my favorite homes, because that's just like the ultimate success story. Not only have they rescued the animals, they've rescued so many more animals in that process of going vegan. So those are definitely my favorite, but we do have animals in homes of people who aren't vegan, and unfortunately that's just the reality of the world we live in. But we are very, very specific about where the animals go to and what sort of treatment to have their forever home. We've got like a 6-month screening process before the animal even goes to them, and then basically from there they send us regular updates, and we're able to visit the animal at all points, and we keep in touch. So definitely making sure that they're safe, but not just predominantly vegan.
Yeah. And so what's like an average day for yourself and for Hugh? I'm guessing you guys are super busy, up early and got lots of things to do, so give us a bit of insight into that.
Yeah, so average day is wake up the crack of dawn, head on down, make sure everyone's safe and healthy and happy, feed everyone their breakfast, clean all the animals' enclosures, deal with any medical cases that we currently have, or any rehab cases that we're doing. And then I think the biggest time consumer in sanctuary life is cleaning of animal enclosures. A lot of people don't really take that into consideration, particularly when you have 70 animals. The maintaining of their environment is super, super important, particularly for me, because that's their home, and I don't like living in a messy home, and they don't either. So yeah, keeping it nice and clean and hygienic for them is a huge time consumer. But also the chaos of constantly new influxes of rescues coming in, sick animals, or someone getting injured, or all that kind of stuff. So we kind of have like this is what we're going to do today, and then this is what happens, based on how everyone's going, and who gives us a call saying, quick, there's a cow that needs help right now. So yeah, it just depends really. Yeah.
And I guess, like, what are some of the challenges? Like, what are some of the hard bits for yourselves?
Probably one of the biggest challenges, particularly that I experienced in the past 12 months, that I don't think is really talked about too much, is compassion fatigue and burnout. A lot of people see our social media and they're like, oh, I want to be you. That's amazing. You just get to cuddle cows all day, and it's really not. That's not reality. Just like every social media, it's very, very difficult to take on so much pain and animals passing, animals that you put your blood, sweat and tears and your heart into, to give everything that you have to keep them alive, and sometimes they still don't make it. The constant dread of getting those calls saying that you're needed, and feeling like you're not doing enough. I think that's probably the hardest part of running a sanctuary or being involved in animal rescue. And probably also the relentlessness of it all, like every single day, regardless of if it's raining, if it's hot. We live in Queensland, like I think it's supposed to be 40 degrees on Wednesday, and not looking forward to working all day in that heat. But I mean, you got to do what you got to do to keep everyone happy and healthy.
Yeah. And what are some of the strategies, that you use yourself to manage the burnout and the heartache?
Um, I think being realistic about what you can handle is really important. I've definitely fallen a victim to that. I think we get into this thinking that we can do so much, and we don't realize that our limit might not be endless. And we think, oh, we're gonna just do one more, or just one more, just one more, and you kind of have to draw that line, because ultimately if you're not looked after, then you can't look after anyone else. So really important to not just focus on the animals, and also focus on your own mental health and your own well-being, to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward for the animals in your care, and not just putting everything in yourself into them and neglecting yourself in the process.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
imagine, especially as well with, recent times, like there's a lot of added pressure, I'm guessing, and sometimes isolation as well. You're constantly doing things on your own property that, you might also feel alone at times.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we've been very, very lucky up in Queensland. We have had very limited isolation compared to you guys down south. I think we've had like 2 lockdowns and they lasted 2 days. So it's been pretty cruisy up here in that regard. But yeah, it brings a whole other element of challenges, I think, running a sanctuary during a global pandemic. For
Yeah.
sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
And would you have any advice for anyone, that is looking at getting involved in rescue, or, looking at maybe adopting a few animals themselves?
Yeah. I probably have lots of advice. The first thing that comes to mind is try and spend as much time with whatever you're wanting to get into before you get into it. So, for example, if you're wanting to adopt a cow, try and spend as much time as possible with cows, and do as much research as possible into how to properly care for cows, and how to make sure that you're doing the best thing for that animal, as opposed to just what you're wanting. I think a lot of people forget that, particularly with a lot of the livestock animals, they do have a very long lifespan. Cows can live up to 25 years, and people think of the short term as opposed to the long term of that animal. So just making sure that you're not committing to something that you can't maintain is super important. And anyone who's wanting to get involved into rescue or sanctuary life, or any of that category, I would say do as much volunteer work at as many sanctuaries and as many rescues as possible, because everyone does something different, and you're going to learn something from each individual place you go to, and from each individual you work under or work with. So I think that's really important, and understanding that we are a community and we do need to work together, as opposed to like against each other. We need to kind of all come together and make sure we're all doing it for the same reason at the end of the day. So yeah.
Yeah. And I know you said initially when you started it, you were basically, it was much needed up in Queensland and Sunshine Coast. Like, are you kind of still one of the only sanctuaries up there?
So on the Sunshine Coast, there are about 3 or 4 other sanctuaries in Brisbane, or the Brisbane greater area. But I mean, there could be 100 sanctuaries and there would still be a huge demand for it. So I think many hands make light work. So the more people there are doing the work that we are doing, the better off the animals are.
Yeah. And how can we support you? Like, if we're not local to yourself and we can't physically volunteer at your sanctuary, is there other things we can do to help you?
Yeah. So the biggest thing that we ask our followers to do, or our supporters to do, is become sponsors for our sanctuary. So you can sign up for as little as $10 a month, so $2.50 a week. And that just comes out as a direct debit, and you can sponsor your favorite animal that lives at the sanctuary. And having that influx of consistent income is amazing, and so helpful for maintaining the running costs of the sanctuary, and maintaining the quality of care that we can provide. When we have increase and decrease and increase in the income or in the donations coming in, it's very, very difficult, and it just kind of adds another stress into caring for these animals. So making sure that we've got all their bases covered financially is probably the biggest thing that people can do, and making sure that it's something that's sustainable for you. So making sure you're just committing like a small amount of money versus like a really large amount of money every month. Yeah, like I said, $2.50 a week is quite affordable for most people. So we're so grateful to all those people who donate their hard-earned money to our cause.
And I see as well that you've also got some fantastic like merchandise as well online that people can buy.
Yeah. So we've got merch as well. We've got a local artist who's donated their time. So we've got like greeting cards and postcards. We've got some merch, like I'm wearing one of our t-shirts. It's very, very dirty because I've been working all day in it, so don't judge it on this. But yeah, on our website, we've got a whole list of merch and different things you can do in our online store. We've also got options like if you don't want to do a monthly sponsorship, you can just do a once-off donation, or you can buy specific feed for specific animals. You can shout them a meal and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so there's lots of options depending on people's potentially their capability or ability to sustain something long term, like you said.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And do you have any plans for the future of the sanctuary, like anything that you're working on or that you would love to be able to do in the future?
Yeah, we've got a million plans and a million dreams of what we want to accomplish. The biggest thing probably this year that we are working towards is we created an animal assisted therapy program last year. So we're working with the NDIS and doing assisted therapy for people with intellectual disabilities and mental health concerns and all that kind of stuff, as well as physical disabilities. So that's a really big chapter that we're starting. We're really excited about, and just trying to continue once again that sustainability and that growth of the program. Unfortunately, we've kind of hit a limit on at this stage, at least, on rehoming. We're struggling to find that top quality home, and we always want to make sure that we are putting animals into the best possible place for that animal. So when we aren't getting those applications come through for those animals for forever homes, it kind of debilitates us on the work that we can do, because ultimately, if we can't find homes for them, we can't continue to take on animals, because not only do we run out of room, but it costs a lot of money and it takes a lot of work to keep them happy and healthy. So just trying to find different avenues where we can still continue to save lives and educate people and do the hard work that we are doing for the animals, but not directly in rescuing those huge numbers that we have been doing in the past years.
Yeah. And so with the program, is that something where people come to the sanctuary, or you're taking animals into other people's properties, or how does that work?
People come to sanctuary, yeah. So basically, we, depending on the person and depending on their disability, everything is at the animals' comfort level. So we're never ever forcing animals into situations they don't want to be in. We're not going to be forcing them to be pat if they don't pat, or all that kind of stuff. It's more just creating a safe space for everyone, and allowing that energy to kind of transition into humans as well as animals. So these animals have come from abuse, neglect, judgment, and I think a lot of people with disabilities and a lot of people with challenges in their life can relate to these animals, and can find a connection and can find peace with these animals just by simply spending time with them. So that's really important to me, and really exciting for me, by not jeopardizing the animal's safety and comfort and still providing that 5-star quality of life, but allowing them to have like a higher purpose just by simply existing and being happy. Their happiness and their presence can kind of rub off on other people and other parts of the world.
Yeah, wow. And I actually just realized that we totally forgot or skipped over your actual vegan story. Like, how did you go vegan yourself?
So I was vegetarian for a long time. I kind of flip-flopped from vegetarian to pescatarian for like a long time, many years. And then I actually saw an ad for Veganuary about I think 5 years ago now. And I was like, oh, what's that? And I clicked on it, and I knew someone who was doing it. And I said, look, if I don't just do it, then I never will. So I thought I'll try it for 1 month, and if it works, I'll keep going with it. If it doesn't work, I'll just go back to being vegetarian. And yeah, never looked back since.
How long ago was that?
About 5 years ago.
Okay, yep. And so was that during your time of being a vet nurse, or like how did that sort of correlate?
Yeah. During my time as a vet nurse, I specifically remember we did an operation on a day on a chicken, and then I remember going to the lunchroom right after that operation, and my coworker ate a chicken sandwich right in front of me, and my coworker was the vet that operated on this chicken, and I was like, I don't understand. Like, didn't we just save a chicken and then you're killing a chicken? So I think that kind of sparked thinking more about the whole picture. And yeah. And then on that day, the ad for Veganuary popped up, and there we go. The rest is history.
And do you find that like the volunteers that come to the sanctuary, do you find that there's a mix of vegans and non-vegans and it's part of the education, or?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually get probably more non-vegans than vegans who come to volunteer, or at least who start volunteering with us. Most of the volunteers who remain with us and keep volunteering with us for longer than a couple months, they go vegan. But we actually do have quite a few people who come through the volunteer program and aren't vegan and still don't go vegan after volunteering with the sanctuary. So, I mean, I guess at least maybe in a year's time, they'll look back and they may go vegan. But we have some people who volunteer at the sanctuary and aren't vegan, and then we have some people who come on a tour and within the first 2 sentences they go, oh my god, I'm going vegan. So I think it takes everyone a different amount of time to kind of flip that switch in your brain and kind of fully understand what we're saying and understand, like, no, this is not a diet, no, this is not a choice, this is a moral issue here, and it's so much bigger than just convenience and taste buds, you know what I mean? So yeah, hopefully one day those volunteers who aren't vegan or who haven't gone vegan since volunteering with us, they do, but we do get quite a few that go vegan, which is amazing.
Yeah. And I'm guessing that would have, been quite a change for yourselves to not only run a sanctuary, but then, invite people into your property, and educate them on the lives of the animals and also the impact they can have as an individual.
Yeah. We actually get a lot of volunteers through our tours. So we get a lot of people who come on a tour, listen to the tour, and then either go vegan and want to volunteer and want to do everything that they possibly can, or they go, hold on, like, I can help here, and sign up as a volunteer. So it's super empowering to know that one experience has like changed that person's life forever. And I think a lot of the time people who work in rescue or work in sanctuaries kind of forget those incredibly life-changing moments, and they get stuck in the day-to-day of running around, cleaning up poop, all that kind of stuff, making sure everything's done. And they forget, like, hold on a minute, I have literally changed lives, not only of the animals in your care, but also in in those people who have seen the work we're doing, have made a connection with the work we're doing, and then gone vegan from there. And I mean, that's just a drop in the ocean. That person will talk to someone else who will then maybe go vegan, who will then talk to someone else. So I genuinely believe that that is going to be where the biggest impact we have on animal agriculture, is just trying to get as many people as possible to understand why we're doing this hard work, and why it's so important to change their life, so that we don't have to do this hard work and we don't have to save these animals that shouldn't need to be in these positions in the first place.
Yeah. Well, before we finish up, is there anything we might have missed that you did want to mention?
I don't really know. I'll probably watch this when it's released and go, oh, I should have said that. But at this stage in time, no, not really. Thank you so much. You do really awesome work, and thank you so much for spreading the vegan message. And I think it's so important that we acknowledge everyone's role in the movement and make sure that everyone's working to their strengths and working to what works for them. I actually started my activism journey, or my vegan journey, in other forms of activism. I started doing like vigils and a couple of cubes and street activism and stuff. And I really didn't like it. I found it didn't resonate with me personally. And that's okay. That I have other strengths, and there's so many other people who are so amazing at that work, and they do so much good work doing that. So yeah, I think it's really important that we all do what we're good at. And if we all work together and play to our strengths, then we'll get there in the end.
Yeah, and I think that's a really fantastic thing about our community, is that, we may not all be able to do a certain thing like rescue or sanctuary work, but, we do always band together, like in times for volunteering or at events, fundraising events and things. So I do think it's great that, as a community, we really help each other out. So yeah, it's a great example of that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for all your amazing work. It's so fantastic seeing what you guys do online, and I can imagine, like you said, it's always or mostly the happy bits that you do share, but we are very grateful that we can share that with you, so thank you.
That's okay. I think it's super important. As much as there are a lot of hard work, there are some pretty incredible moments that I definitely take advantage, or I take for granted, because it's my day-to-day life. But the animals are incredible, and it's a blessing to be able to spend my time with them.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And I'll link all your information in the show notes so that people can jump across, follow you, and hopefully support you by sponsoring an animal or buying some merch. And if they're local, they could come and visit you.
Definitely. Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
No worries.